It's that time of year again. It's the Regional Policy Plan updates from the Cape Cod Commission. With me today, Executive Director Christy Senatori. Christy, congratulations on your new position.
Thanks, Paula.
So the Regional Policy Plan, I don't know if every one of our citizens really understands what this policy plan is and why there is an update to it.
The Cape Cod Commission Act requires that the Commission develop and implement a regional policy plan periodically. Our first regional policy plan was developed in 1991, and we've updated it since then a handful of times. We are in the process of updating the current plan, and we have released the plan for public comment back in September. It's out for 60 days, and the public comment period will close on November 19th.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about past regional policy plans. What's happened in these plans that are important to folks that they should understand why these plans actually work?
So the Regional Policy Plan is intended to guide growth and development on Cape Cod. So it's not only a planning document, but also guides regulation. So it guides those developments of regional impact that trigger commission review. The plan that's before the public for comment right now really takes a little bit of a different approach, and it's a goals-based plan. It really derives from the goals and objectives that are stated in the Cape Cod Commission Act, and really gives us an opportunity to take a look comprehensively across the Cape at a systems-based approach to planning and regulation.
So that's new in this particular plan, and let's take a look at the different systems that are out there. When we say systems, what do those mean to folks?
The Regional Policy Plan is organized into three discrete systems. So there's community systems, which are really the people that make up the Cape, the economy. We've got our human systems, our human-built systems, like our transportation networks and other infrastructure. And then we have our natural systems, so our wetlands, our water resources, and those things that make the Cape unique. And the approach with the systems-based is really taking a comprehensive look at the Cape. So rather than looking at parcel-specific development and regulation, we're really trying to take a larger look more holistically at planning and development across the Cape. So it gives us an opportunity to really integrate those systems and balance the environmental needs and environmental sensitivity of the region with economic progress and growth and development.
Okay, let's just back up a little bit and talk a little bit about the parcel approach so people understand that. Can you give us an example of that?
Sure. So a project that would trigger a commission threshold, such as those more familiar projects like the Lowe's project in Dennis that was proposed a few years ago, trigger mandatory review and come in, and they're reviewed by our 19-member Cape Cod Commission board. Okay. And they're reviewed in those issue areas that are set forth in the Regional Policy Plan. And those provide an opportunity for an applicant to meet those standards and potentially be approved or denied. It's one component of that review, but it does provide some guidance on how to meet some of those regional standards.
Okay, so with this new lens approach of these systems, how would something like that project then be kind of different in this policy plan?
Well, the plan that's in place now has over 220 minimum performance standards. Wow. The plan that we're putting forward now, it's goals and objectives based, so it really is an opportunity to take a look at the big picture and have that regional impact really articulated by the Commission. So it's taking a little bit of more of a comprehensive look than we've done in the past.
Okay, so natural systems, estuaries, anything of critical nature, water, that type of stuff, water quality?
Absolutely, water quality, estuarine quality, fresh water. Looking at our drinking water, open space, so those things that make the Cape unique from an environmental standpoint. Right. And then we've got those built systems, which really are our infrastructure and our transportation networks, and really looking at community design and combining that with the community systems, which is really looking at the economy and the people who live and work and want to stay on the Cape. Right. The community piece of it also really touches on our housing needs and our housing strategy. One of the key components to this new plan is really addressing our critical housing needs. So that's really the balance between those three systems that's helping us shape this 2018 update.
Right. And you talked about goals-based, so tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I know you're accountable because of the Commission Act, but what are the goals in these regional policy plans? That's something new.
We are putting forward goals. We've always had goals in the plan that relate back to the Cape Cod Commission Act, but this is really going to guide the review of these developments of regional impact, but also provide planning the planning framework too. So, and what's also new in this plan that's exciting is the opportunity to measure our progress. So we've got performance measures that are categorized similarly to the goals. And so we'll be able to track our progress over time. So if once this plan is adopted and implemented, 12 months, 18 months down the road, we'll be able to take a look at how we're doing, how are we meeting our regional goals. So are we extending our sidewalk networks? Are we maintaining our water quality? So things like that we'll be able to use the best available data to make sure that we are meeting those goals in the Act and in the Regional Policy Plan.
Right. And let's talk a little bit about region. The Cape, with 15 unique and separate towns, sometimes have silos. So the approach to regionality in the plan, how do you overcome some of those pieces there that people are like, well, no, that's Truro, not Barnstable? Are those things kind of addressed in this plan where everybody kind of looks at the problem regardless of where they live?
That's a great point, and we do have to balance the needs of the 15 unique communities and even the villages within those communities. We've had 3 sub-regional public hearings, and the differences in the testimony and the feedback we've been hearing is really sub-regionally different. So what we've done in this plan is identified place types, and so we have areas considered natural areas all the way up to community activity centers and industrial activity centers, and areas where we might want to focus more of our growth and where there's appropriate and adequate infrastructure, so could be additional density planned in these areas. Recognizing though that the towns are very unique, these place types within the towns are very unique. So we've tried to take a look comprehensively at identifying these areas across the Cape so that when we do plan and regulate, it will be context sensitive. So the definitions and the conversation around the development in these different locations will be different depending on the place type that you're located in.
Right. Anything else new in the plan that you want to kind of let folks know?
We do have some recommended actions in this plan. We recognized that there was a need to address our critical housing needs on the Cape, so we'll be doing that in a larger housing strategy. We also needed to take a focus on easing the local comprehensive planning process, so we'll be identifying areas where that can also assist the local communities. And then lastly, really building on our infrastructure needs, we'll be creating in the next coming years an infrastructure and capital facilities plan regionally. So we'll be working closely with the 15 communities, but coming up with a regional plan and strategy to assist the local communities.
Right, and I want to stress that infrastructure across the Cape needs to be connected.
Absolutely.
From sidewalks, like you said, or bike paths, or even just wastewater as well.
Absolutely. We've looked a lot at resilience, and so not only environmental and coastal resilience, but really looking at economic and community resilience. And you're absolutely right. We do live in a Cape that's connected by systems, and so making sure we build resilient systems is very important.
So public comment, how can people get involved with that at this? You said it closes on the 19th, I believe?
November 19th, so we're accepting public comment. It can be written comments submitted on our website, which is capecodcommission.org/RPP update. You can also email the commission. That email address is found on our website as well.
Okay. And this public comment, you've already held the hearings. What are you looking for feedback from residents and towns in this public comment?
We're really looking for some feedback on the approach and the details, and this is an opportunity for the public to weigh in, for decision makers, for the municipalities to weigh in on whether this is something that they see fitting the needs of the community, and certainly for the next several years. This is a plan that can be updated and amended from time to time. Okay. So what we're trying to make sure what we have in place now really meets the needs of our communities today.
Okay. And this regional policy plan, the November 19th is the end of public comment. What happens after that?
It will go to the Cape Cod Commission Board for their review and approval, and then it will be sent off to the Assembly of Delegates. It's a county ordinance, so they'll be the ultimate approving body. We do have a lot of public comments, so we will be synthesizing those comments and making amendments to the draft prior to it going to the Cape Cod Commission for their review. Right,
and this draft is available on the website?
It is,
okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the update. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.